film you saw Will and his son play this game about being cavemen and having to find a cave someplace to spend the night? I had a game I played with my son. And the game was real simple. The game was called Shh. And that meant that no matter what anybody said on the other side of that door, no matter how hard they pound on the door, we're not here. We're invisible. We lived like that for a year. It took me that long to save the money to get a place for us to call our own. Even after I had saved the money, I would show up to rent properties, and people wouldn't rent to us. They made judgments on us. The first thing they want to know is, well, where's the baby's mom? Well, what happened? Well, what's that got to do with anything? I'm gainfully employed, I got good credit, I got the references, I got the money. They wouldn't rent to us. One of my favorite parts of the book, the first book, The Pursuit of Happiness, is the story of my son and I getting our first place to live after being on the streets for a year. I remember going through the hood, Oakland, California. I got my son in the stroller. I got the stroller covered up with plastic bags from the cleaners. It's raining. I didn't want him to get cold or get wet. And I saw a house that was no different than any other house in the neighborhood, but with one exception. There was a rose bush. And I had never seen roses in the ghetto in my life. And I remember thinking, man, this is the most beautiful place in the world. I went over and started talking to this little old man who was outside, and it turns out he owned the property. Mr. Jackson. Told him where we've been and what we've been through, and he cuts me off. He says, son, you ain't got to tell me nothing else. Y'all can move in here. We moved in. Slept on the floor our first night. And this is just one of the ways that issues become generational for children. My son has seen me carry everything we own, everywhere we went, every day for a year. But on this morning, we get up to walk out of the house, and I'm not carrying anything. My son gets a little anxious. He says, Papa, you forgot this. We have to bring our stuff. I don't know the words to convey to you what it feels like to be able to say to your son, you know what, son? We got a key now. We don't have to carry stuff anymore. I don't know the words to convey to you what that feels like. The only way I can convey that to you would be if I could levitate myself off of this stage. The lightness of it. I remember this. We both skipped to the train that day. That was a good day. And speaking of the train, it's funny how life can be sometimes. That train station, 2 blocks from our new home, the same train station we used to sleep in. Something else very important started to happen at this train station. They began to open a daycare center. A place called Happiness, and they did spell it with a Y. And what made that so important for us is right now, I got a 3-hour commute on the bus and the train to get to the one place I'm comfortable, leaving my son, or 2 blocks down the street. The challenge was, the daycare center would not take children who were not potty trained.